The Farmers Weekly Podcast.
Some of the world's soils could be gone in less than a century. That's according to a new study published this week by scientists from Lancaster University. The review looked at 6 continents and 38 countries and found that even in parts of the UK, the clock is ticking for topsoil. Dr. Dan Evans is one of the study's lead authors.
We were trying to respond in part to some headlines in recent years that suggest that the world's topsoil could be gone in 60 years, or there may be only 100 harvests left. And of course, these claims have not really been supported with evidence. And so what our study wanted to do was to provide the first evidence-backed, globally relevant estimates of soil lifespans around the world, looking at regions from all of the known continents of the world, and to really give us a first worldwide insight into how erosion may be affecting the longevity of our soils. And so what we were doing is we were thinking about the topsoil, the top 30 centimetres of soil in a soil profile. That top layer often is rich in nutrients and organic matter, so it's very important for growing food and feed and fuel. And of course, soil erosion is a serious threat to that topsoil, and that soil erosion can lead to endangering food security, driving the desertification and reducing biodiversity and really degrading ecosystems. And our main kind of take-home message, really, in a sense, was that out of the soils that we studied, over 90% of those which were conventionally farmed were thinning. So in other words, the erosion rates were exceeding the rates of soil formation, and 16% of these had lifespans less than a century. So less than 100 years for that topsoil to erode, given the current rates.
And Dan, how does the UK look in comparison to the rest of the world?
This study followed another piece of work I did last year with colleagues at Lancaster University and other institutions, which was really based on UK soils. And we were looking at the soil lifespans that we might expect in a UK soil arable context. And the sites that we looked at were mainly sandy, eroding hill slope sites. So obviously those that you might expect to be eroding. But we were looking at lifespans for that top 30 centimetres of around about 138 years, and for the in some cases the entire soil profile to be eroded in just over 200 years. So yes, not 60 years, not 100 harvests. There's obviously lots of variation across the world because of different land management regimes and different contexts, but still a serious and urgent concern that we have to face.
So what should we be doing going forward?
We need to put soils at the very top of our agenda. It's an essential natural capital resource. And what we've seen recently, and in, particularly the last 50 to 100 years of farming, is a slight progression of what we call soil degradation. So whether this was compaction of the soil, erosion of the soil, the loss of organic matter, the loss of soil biodiversity, and maybe some loss of nutrients, we need to start reversing that with sustainable land management strategies.
So how do I know, Dan, if I've got good soil on my farm? What should I be going out there and having a look at? What should I be analysing?
What does a good soil look like? It drains well. It doesn't crust after planting. It soaks up rain with little runoff. It resists erosion and nutrient loss. Soil structure is absolutely fundamental. Get a small soil pit, lift some soil out of the ground, and notice some things about its structure. Is it well formed? Are there aggregates in place there? Do you see vertical channels that allow movement of water and air? Do you see earthworms? Usually about 10 to 15 are ideal in a 40 by 40 by 40 centimetre soil monolith, and there will be a good distribution of really fine aggregates there. In terms of drainage, we need kind of a warm, uniform brown and black soil. Usually that indicates good drainage conditions. If you see ponding or runoff, perhaps the water will move through the soil quite steadily then. But if it's grey, and if you start getting that sense of doesn't smell too good, then it's probably a reduced form of manganese or iron, and that will tell you that your soil is deficient of oxygen.